Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It has been quite some time since we've discussed the new Nissan Z that Nissan is currently developing. In fact, the last time we discussed it on this channel was way back in the middle of September when they did the live unveil event. I did a reaction video to that as well as a teardown of all the information that we knew at the time for the new Z Proto. If you haven't watched that video already, see the link in the top right corner. A lot of great information in there from what we had seen from those first couple of months when we had learned about the new Z. And in this video, I'm going to give you guys updates on everything that we've learned so far since the unveil event up until this point. So after it was unveiled on September 15th, the data stream on this car pretty much went cold. Nissan wasn't really giving us a whole lot more to work with. We got a few additional pictures of the car. There was a lot of people online that were doing some renderings, fixing parts of the car that they really didn't like, showing what potentially modified versions of the car could look like as well. Pretty cool to see some of the Z fans kind of showing what they want to see out of the car. But we really didn't get anything from Nissan. And then right around October 11th or so, the car was unveiled at a morning cruise event for Z enthusiasts in Tokyo. Pretty jealous that these guys got to take a sneak peek of the car in person. But yeah, they showed the car there in Tokyo, got to see some of the fans' reaction. Pretty cool to see. We also got a little bit more video of the car as well. On October 28th, we got yet another video featuring the new Z Proto, this time featuring Nissan's CEO, their Chief Product Specialist, and the Senior Vice President for Global Design, Alfonso, all talking about the design of the car. The CEO took it out for the first time. I got to see some nice rolling shots of the Z Proto. They also talked about the power of the V6 twin-turbo motor that is under the hood, but really still gave us no specifications in terms of what that motor has. They didn't tell us what the power was. It was around this time that the Proto Z finally made landfall in North America for the first time for its photo shoot with Larry Chen, the infamous car scene photographer, giving us some absolutely breathtaking photos of this car, the best I think to date of the Proto Z. Really amazing photos coming out of that shoot. There is a video on the photo shoot done by Hoonigan as well. It also features Chris Fosberg, the Formula Drift champion. Him and Larry Chen go back and forth talking about what they like about the Proto Z. They did also make a comment about a lot of work on the Q50 being brought over to the Proto Z as well. I don't know if Nissan let them in on some insider information. I don't know if there was just speculation by them. I imagine if they did know anything, they aren't allowed to tell us. But I just thought it was an interesting comment. I don't know, again, if it's speculation, but if a lot of work from the Q50 was brought over to the Proto Z, I mean, I think that also points towards the VR30 being used here. It was also at this time that we saw Sung from Fast and Furious, as well as Cody Walker, Paul Walker's brother, getting a private screening with a couple of other enthusiasts of the Proto Z. Also pretty cool just to see these guys checking the car out. There were some photos taken of the interior, I think some of the most detailed that we've gotten to date, featuring some interesting features such as the rev warning bar that we can see there at the top of the dash. I thought that was a pretty cool feature. We see a lot of borrowed parts from the 370Z. I had made a comment on this in my original video. It seems like we are using the exact same door handles that have been on the 350 and on the 370, but they did say that the interior wasn't 100% finished yet, so maybe that was still going to change. But yeah, we see what looks like some pretty familiar parts here in the car, and we also got a pretty interesting look through the grille. Now I can't tell if this is an intercooler or if this is the condenser for the AC. Not really sure what we're looking at here, but I think it's the first look through the grille and the closest we've seen to actually getting photos of the engine up to this point. Fast forward to November 25th, and Nissan releases yet another video about the design story behind the Proto Z. It features the yellow design car that we have seen so many times already, and it features Alfonso and Satoru talking about the design elements in the car, anywhere from the bulge in the hood to the lines in the fender. I did think it was interesting that in this video they explicitly mentioned the square grille. It is very clear that Nissan heard our complaints about the look of the front grille, but it was also interesting to hear that they were very firm in this design element. They said that the way that the car is shaped and trying to harken back to the old 240 design, they were very adamant about keeping with the square grille. Props to Nissan and Alfonso for sticking behind that design element. It sounds like that's really not going to change, and this is what we're going to probably see in production. So at this point, we really have gotten No additional information on the car. We don't really know anything about any new colors. We don't know anything about the engine. Nissan has been holding their cards very close to their chest. However, on December 4th, we see Alfonso make a post on his Instagram featuring a rendering of the Proto Z, but this time done in Battleship Gray. This is the first time we've seen anybody from Nissan releasing a rendering in another color, so we finally get what might be a confirmation of a new color palette coming for the car. So now we've seen the yellow one, and we've seen the rendering of this Battleship Gray Z, but more on that to come here in a minute. Fast forward to January 14th, and patent filings are discovered in the Australian Patent Office, showing what is supposedly the production version of the Z. Up until this point, Nissan has said that the Z Proto is just a prototype for the shape, and that the actual look of the car could change a little bit. They said it was mostly finished, but the production model could still look a little bit different from the Z Proto. Well, these patent filing renderings look very much close to the Z Proto, confirming that the shape was pretty much finalized. January 21st, the first day that we actually see images of the engine bay circulating the web, albeit they were taken from pretty far away, so the images are pretty unclear. We do see a couple of things. We note that the engine cover is paint matched to match the bodywork. I hope that this carries over to the production models. It does appear to be the VR30. At least the coolant tank and this hose seem to match the VR30 motor that we can see in the Q50s, but we still just can't see enough of it here to really confirm what's under the hood. But these are the absolute first images that we actually see. February 4th, Nissan USA does their live next event, mainly focused around the Pathfinder and the Frontier, but we do also get to see the Nissan Z Proto once again. They did state that
the Nissan Z Proto is a hint of the next generation Z that you'll see in production form later this year.
I think this is the first official statement that the production version is going to be seen by the end of 2021. So that was just kind of an interesting little line to hear. But more interesting is later in this video, we once again see Alfonso in the design studio talking about the car, and we see the first images of another Proto Z in a different color. I believe this is the same Battleship Gray color that he had alluded to in his Instagram post back in December, but we finally have confirmation that there's at least 2 of these Proto Zs running around. Nissan on that same day also released a video called the Proto Z Live Walk Around. We really didn't get a whole lot of information from this. The first half of the video was more so a history lesson on Zs of years past, but there was an interesting phrase that was used by the presenter here. They said that the new Proto Z features
an enhanced turbocharged V6 engine.
Now that's an interesting choice of words there. Even now, we still don't know what engine is officially in this car. Nissan hasn't released videos under the hood. We don't really understand why, but the fact that this representative of Nissan says it's an enhanced V6 twin-turbo engine leads me to believe that it probably is the VR30 motor that we have been talking about and speculating so heavy over, but I suspect they've probably added something to it, done something to the engine to otherwise enhance it and possibly give it more horsepower. On March 3rd, Project Cars 3 releases the Proto Z in what I'm assuming was a DLC for the game, where they claim that the horsepower of the car is 443 and that the weight is 3,251 pounds. Is this actually accurate? Of course, it's probably not. I highly doubt that the specs were released to the guys at Project Cars 3, so it's probably just speculation. On March 13th, emails started going out to previous Z owners asking them to participate in a survey regarding the Proto Z. I thought this was pretty interesting to hear about. I think this is typically done at the very end of the design cycle, just to kind of put in any of those last minute changes that they deem necessary based off of people's feedback. I don't really know what it says though about the release date, but I was a little bit sour that I didn't get an email myself. March 22nd, just a week ago, was a big day because we got images of 2 Z Protos that we had yet to see. We saw one in dark gray as well as one in silver. And I don't know if both of these came from the same person, but I do know that the original poster of these videos and these photos quickly took them down shortly after, so I suspect that they were released accidentally and they weren't supposed to go out. These cars appear to be much closer to the production models, noting things like the parking assist sensors and the collision avoidance sensor, all parts of Nissan's intelligent drive system. I'm curious to know if this is going to make its way onto the base model, but at least here in the US, companies are trying to move towards making anti-collision a standard on vehicles here, along with backup cams. But yeah, we got photos of two previously unseen cars, one in silver, one in gray. The gray one looks to be an automatic. He did say that the second one that he had received was a manual, but he didn't get photos of the interior for that one. So yeah, pretty cool to see all of that. This does confirm that we have a total of at least 4 Proto Zs running around. One in silver, one in dark gray, one in yellow, and then the one in that battleship gray. And you may not think much of that, but to me this implies that they are currently in the middle of their manufacturability study. They've probably got an assembly line set up right now, and they're currently trying to put Zs through and make sure that the cars are actually manufacturable. This is absolutely huge. I don't think a lot of people have really emphasized that enough. I think it means that they are getting very close to being able to actually produce these cars in mass quantity. And then just a few days ago, somebody on the 400Z Club posted up a massive data leak of information that he had gotten from a supposedly reputable source. There was a lot of information in here, so I'm actually going to have to kind of go through and read it all. So yeah, he says that he has a lot of family in Tennessee. Tennessee is, of course, where the headquarters of Nissan USA is, so he's trying to state that the information he's got here is pretty reputable. He says that the Z35 is going to be called the Fairlady Z in Japan and simply the Nissan Z in the USA. He states that the MSRP is probably going to be around $34,995 for the base model. I think this is a very strategic price point to be able to put on the Z. I think it makes it very competitive with the Supra, so I think it would be a smart decision on Nissan's part to try and price it right around in that range. He claims that there is going to be a couple of options. We're going to have a Type S, which is supposed to include Brembos, thicker sway bars, coolers, and other stuff. And then he states that there's going to be a Type T, which is going to have your leather power seats. You're also going to have heating and cooling, auto cruise, and that sort of thing. So yeah, we've got a S&T, which I'm assuming probably stands for Sport and Touring, just like we had on the 370Z. So I don't think this naming convention is, necessarily inaccurate. There would be, of course, a version where you can include both packages called a Sport Touring. Once again, seems pretty familiar, right? Each package, he states, is going to be roughly $5,000, with the ST version being about a $10,000 markup. They said that the base model gets Akabonos, which you had to get on the Sport version of the 370Z, so it's pretty cool to hear that they're putting Akabonos on as standard. And then the Sport and the Nismo are going to get the Brembos. He states that all cars are supposed to get the 400 horsepower flavor of the VR30 motor. I think we kind of all anticipated this. All cars are supposed to get the digital dash, which is good to hear. And of course, if you like the digital dash. All cars are supposed to get Android Auto and CarPlay, and the rear spoiler. I thought that little lip spoiler they put on there was pretty cute. We saw that with the 240s. He says the dry weight is supposed to be about 3,252 pounds. We'll have to see. He states that the auto transmission that we've seen in the gunmetal and silver cars is supposed to be a Mercedes-Benz 9G Tronic auto transmission, so we're not going to be seeing the 7-speed transmission anymore. We're going to be getting a 9-speed for those of you that are wanting to run auto. Now, this is probably the most disappointing part to hear. The new Z is supposedly just a 370Z with a body kit and a VR30 swap. And I can completely believe this, actually. There were photos recently released, the first ones that I've ever seen, of the undercarriage of the car, at least from the rear end. It actually shows a lot of suspension components that were borrowed from the 370Z. And I don't know what to make of this. I mean, I suppose don't fix what's not broke. And I'm sure that the budget on the new Z was probably pretty tight, but to see the fact that they've copied the chassis so much, and they've also copied the door handles and a lot of other little interior parts, is a little bit disappointing to see. It doesn't 100% sway me away from wanting to buy it. It would be pretty nice to be able to swap parts in between the 370Z and the new Z, but we'll have to see what happens. The 6-speed transmission that's going to come in it is a direct carryover from the 370Z, so we'll probably have a very similar transmission. And then color options are supposed to include yellow, orange, and then all of the current colors that are available on the 370Z right now. So yeah, this kind of gives us an idea of what to expect for launch. You do have to take everything that this person said, however, with a grain of salt. It is not official news from Nissan. And now another piece of interesting news from the 370Z perspective. If you currently go online to Nissan USA and you check their inventory for all of the dealers across the US, you will see that there is apparently no inventory available. So yeah, the 370Z is no longer in production, and I don't know how I feel about that. It's sad because it's been in production for 12 years. When I first saw this car, I first saw it in that blue color that they had released in 2009. I remember seeing it when I was in middle school before I could even drive. And I knew I wanted that car. I wanted it so bad. And then finally, fast forward, I had gotten through college and I decided to pick this one up, and I've been having fun driving it for the past few years. And to hear that they're finally stopping making them it's a bit sad to hear. This means that I am now driving something that is in limited quantity. Every single Z you see wrecked now is one less one that is currently available in the world. It's also really exciting though. I mean, obviously in order to produce the new one, you're going to have to stop producing the old one. They're probably going to repurpose that same factory for the production of the new Z if it hasn't already been repurposed. I suspect that it's currently up and running at this point, and they can probably produce in very limited quantity to get some of those show cars out. But yeah, it's very sad and it's a very exciting time. The 370Z is officially done. We're at the end of an era now, and the new Z is really coming down the pipeline at this point. So talking about if I am planning on getting the car. Now, I can't say if I will yet or not. I'm still thinking about it. Certainly, if I could put in a pre-order, it would have helped. I am not going to be paying a lot of dealer markup for these, so if they end up marking the price up a bunch, I'm not going to be doing it. I might have to end up waiting a few months, even a year, if I wanted to get one. And if I end up having to wait that long, it means, of course, that I'm not going to have all of the most up-to-date content on the car. A lot of people are already going to be releasing sound clips and things for it. And also hearing that this car is very much like the 370Z from the chassis standpoint, and the fact that it's borrowed so many parts from the interior is also a bit of a downside. I don't know yet. I'm still trying to decide. I actually did a poll on my YouTube channel asking what car I should get next, and the majority of you did say that the next gen 400Z, or whatever it happens to be called, should be the next car. And yeah, I'm really excited at the potential of getting one. But yeah, I don't know at this point. I really can't say. If there's not a lot of dealer markups, and if the car is going into production about this time next year, I can say almost fairly confidently that I would probably get it. But we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. If I were to get one, let's talk about the supposed specs based off of the information that was leaked just a second ago. I would probably get one in white, maybe? I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know that I want two vehicles in the same color. I'll have to think on it a little bit. I would absolutely get the 6-speed manual transmission. I've just had a lot of fun driving manual, so I don't know that I want to go for the automatic. In terms of packages, we'll have to see what the pricing looks like. I don't know that I would pay $5,000 for some of those packages. I'm just fine getting a base model and upgrading it. I mean, you guys have seen that. For those of you that don't know, this car actually started as a base model, and everything that you see on it that I've done since I bought the car. So I would probably get a base model, but if like the sports package isn't terribly expensive, I might get that. I don't know that I would pay for the touring model. I actually prefer fabric seats over leather, so I'd probably get something like the Type S, assuming that that's the trim name. Yeah, that's all I can say about it so far, because we just don't have any information. It's shocking to see that now, 6 months later, we still don't know basic things like what the engine's going to be inside the car. I actually wonder if that means that Nissan hasn't really finalized what they're doing to it yet, but I really hope we get some of these questions answered soon. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Leave a comment down below about what you think of the new Z. Also, give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers this year, and I could really use your help. So thank you guys for watching. See you all in the next video. Later.